Hello, and welcome back to Sharing a Chapter a Day. This is Do, Ra, me, and today I will be reading Chapter 151 of Engagement in Peril by Dara Ado Suk. Chapter 151 is titled Court Hearing. Shinshin's court hearing arraignment and summons happened on May 14, 2008. And there we were, waiting to be allowed into the courtroom for Shinshin's hearing regarding the harassment order and summons that had brought him here in the first place. Now, if I think really hard, if I squint, squeeze, and pinch at myself and grind my teeth, and maybe if I think really hard enough, I can remember how Shinshin troubles all started. It's May 14th, and there we were. Shinshin, his accusers, Lilith and Delilah, the two horrible, horrible tramps of a mother and daughter duo. And on Shinshin's behalf, I was there as well. We were all preoccupied in a long, narrow hallway waiting to be let into the courtroom at the local Cherry Pineapple Grove Superior Courthouse. Delilah was somewhat in shock when she saw me sitting there next to Shinshin when she and her mother arrived to the waiting area just outside our assigned courtroom. Her ugly, mesmerizing hazel eyes seemed to glare at me harshly as she looked in my direction, but she kept her cold, snake-like composure and went about her business with her mother, perhaps discussing and going over what they had rehearsed the night before on how to go about screwing Shinshin's life over once again. I, being like my dumbass, selfish self, kept my mouth shut and kept to myself. I should have said something then toward those terrible, horrible whores, but I didn't, and I didn't have the balls to say a word. What kind of friend was I then to Shinshin, not even having the audacity to speak on my beloved's behalf? I should have just walked up to them, to those bitches, and give them a piece of my mind. But then again, I was fucking this very girl behind Shinshin's back, and I haven't told him about it yet. And that terrible bitch of a mother of hers, well, she deserved what she got from that accident that messed up her once pleasurable face and body when Delilah was about 13 years old. I just wanted to be there to support Shinshin in his time of need during this insignificant court hearing fiasco. Shinshin and I arrived to the court order hearing arraignment about an hour earlier before our scheduled hearing time and before those two succubi showed up. Those two succubi that drained him of his life and vitality showed up. While there, Shinshin paced up and down in the hallway. His face seemed worried, more scared than worried. He's been to court several times before. You know, for excessive speeding on the early February Super Bowl Sunday morning in 2002, not counting his trouble with the law when he was a juvenile, of which was legally court-ordered, sealed, and expunged. But he'd never been in this situation before. Well, not for something as trivial as this, a false charge of harassments. To keep his mind calm of what had happened to and about to happen to him, Shinchin focused on me. Shinchin asked how my book writing was going. He knew that I was writing and putting together an autobiography of my life's experiences, the stories from my birth to where and how I grew up during the Khmer Rouge insurgent, and how my family and I suffered through the atrocity of wars and the refugee encampments. Shinchin knew this of me. Since Shinchin went to ask if I would be talking about how I had sex at an early age with Suzanne, and the experience that I had while serving in the United States military. Of course, he was there too. Shinshin knew where I was and what I was going through in the military. Through through thick and thin we were. Shinshin and I were quite the item then, serving together as shipmates. The Devil Dog and the Recon Seal. We were known then. That was our title. Only Shinshin knew that the people I fucked around and had relations with in my heyday while serving in the Navy as a hospital corpsman. Only Shinshin knew the people I fucked around and had relationship with in my heyday while serving in the Navy as a hospital corpsman. I had mentioned it. I had told him all about it. He had mentioned that I had quite the stamina then and was quite promiscuous with anyone with two legs. He jokingly giggled as he told me of this. He asked if I will be talking about Aileen, the plump San Francisco girl that I had met and shared several nights with and months with in Newport, Rhode Island, while I was going through Boost. I was there during my Boost officer program, from which began my fall from grace. That's when I lost myself, was Boost. He also brought up Amanda Caldwell, the lovely girl that I spent Thanksgiving weekend with in the mountains of West Virginia during my nice gesture of offering her brother a ride home for the holiday. Amanda was quite the handful then. She had given me a whirl of a ride in that bushes of that cold West Virginia mountainside. Amanda. Mmm. Ugh, just the thought of her. Shin went on to ask if I would be talking about Ashley Tisdale and Julie Cisneros, the two delicious Marine chick who gave me the pleasure of being in a threesome during those cold winter months in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, while I was being held under medical lockdown and provision then. Those were the days. I can't forget the memories that Ashley, Julie, and I shared then. We were quite the company. Three's company, you can say. They were so wonderful to me, emotionally and physically, mainly sexually, of course. They really knew how to get me off. Only if I could turn back the hands of time and start anew with them, mainly with Ashley. She could have been the one for me. After all, Ashley was my Christmas and going away gift then when I was honorably discharged from the United States Navy in that early spring of 1999. Shinshin ended his inquiry of my soon-to-be released book, The First 22nd Years, with reminding me of Benevolence, my first actual full-blown penetration, who was one of my friend during our high school days together. Actually, I was engaged to Benevolence for quite some time. We were quite in love then, I think, until things turned sour and weird, and eventually we both went in different directions. She was and still is my friend. Now, several weeks earlier, before all this court shit thing, Shinshin was visited by several deputy sheriff at his apartment and given a court order summons to appear in the municipal court, where a restraining order had been requested by his accuser, that bitch of a person Delilah and her godforsaken wench of a mother, Lilith. In his copy of the order, Shinshin was ordered to obey the personal conduct and stay away orders, and he was accused of harassment, where Delilah stated, I'm really afraid and I'm so scared of Mr. Shinshin Nagami because he has a bad temper and because of the threat and harassment he said and sent to me on my phone, text, email, voicemail, and online chat, etc. After waiting in the hallway and walkway outside of courtroom 5 for about an hour or so, waiting attendees for the various courtroom hearing was asked to have their summons in hand by the court bailiff, who stepped outside into the hallway in front of the entrance to check on the summons that everyone had with them. Shinshin and I went to the courtroom first before his accuser, who came in after several more people had come in before them. Shinshin and I sat to the left of the room in the third row of the nicely lit courtroom with two columns of church-like bleachers, benches. Delilah and her mother sat to the right of the room in their respectable aisle. Once everyone had their summons with their document in hand to appear in court were inside the room and seated, the bailiff asked each person matching defendant and plaintiff to come up to ask how they wanted to go about their proceeding. Guilty or not guilty? He had asked this of everyone and had come up to him to discuss what both parties wanted from the meeting. When it was time for Shinshin and his accuser to go to talk to the bailiff, I sat back and watched Shinshin's bodily expression and reaction and his facial demeanor as he stood up there, straightened his dark black slack and adjusted his blue dress shirt and tie, and he took a deep breath and walked toward the front to the bailiff station. Delilah and her mother had dressed in a casual dark work suit, dress and pants respectively. Once both parties were in front of the bailiff, he asked what they wanted from this summons. Shinshin stated, Sir, I want nothing to do with this person any longer. I want this to be over and done with. The bailiff asked Shinshin for reassurance. You're saying that you are pleading guilty to the accusation and charges? Am I making myself clear on this? Yes, sir. I want this to be over with. After a deep breath, Shinshin answered. And Miss So-and-so, do you agree and want to stick to these charges? The bailiff asked Delilah and her mother of this. Yep, we do, Lilith answered for her daughter. As I looked at Delilah, she seemed hesitant at first. Maybe she was having second thoughts. Or maybe, just maybe, she knew she was wrong and that her mother was wrong also in filing this accusation of harassment against her charitable one-time lover. But her mother seemed to egg her on to agree with her statement with the bailiffs there. Delilah shook her head in agreement. The bailiff then had the two parties sign the written summons and told them to wait for the judge to decide on their case once the court proceeding began shortly. The party returned to their seats and waited for their hearing to begin. Delilah and Shinshin's case was docket number 28 that morning in the quickly filled preliminary hearing courtroom. After the hearing and proceeding began, the trial and overview of each respective case went smoothly. It took about an hour before Shinshin and Delilah hearing was to begin. But on that day, the bailiff had announced that the assigned judge for the courtroom that morning was out with a cold and that the hearing judge now would be a magistrate instead. With our permission and agreement to accept the magistrate decision, the court proceeding continued. Shinshin didn't seem to mind who or what type of judge it would be who will decide on his case. He just wanted this to be over and done with. Docket 28 was called, and the two party of Shinshin and Delilah walked to the front and center of the courtroom in front of the substitute magistrate. I see here, Mr. Igami, you have agreed to the charges and accusation by Miss Delilah and her mother. Do you still want to agree with these charges? The magistrate had asked this of Shinshin. Yes, yes, Your Honor, Shinshin softly responded and agreed with the magistrate's question. And do you two ladies, his accuser, agree to the charges and accusation, or would you like to change your mind? The magistrate asked that of the two succubi. With a small jab at Delilah's back from Lilith, the two shook their head in agreement and stated coldly, Yes, Judge, we agree. After a short pause, moment, and a quick review of some of his note, the magistrate made a blunt, quick decision. Okay, Mr. Agami, you are hereby ordered to stay away from Miss Delilah and her mother for 3 years, starting from today's date, so no phone call, text, or computer email messages or any mail of any kind between all parties. Also, you are not allowed to come within 100 yards of each other. Do all parties understand that this court order and decision, or would you like it to go further, to have a trial on this matter? The magistrate looked at Shinshin for his answer. I agree, sir. I just don't want anything to do with this person any more, Shinshin, holding back his frustration, had calmly stated in reply to the judge's question. We agreed also, Judge, the two accused coldly and quickly answered the right after Shinshin had answered. Okay, it is so then. The bailiff will have the plaintiff sign some form, and Mr. Igami, you are free to leave the courtroom. Make sure to follow the court order, was the magistrate's last word and a reminder to Shinshin as he called for the next docket number to come up to the court podium. Shinshin took one last look at Delilah and Lilith before leaving the courtroom. Their ugly faces were cold and dark, like they knew they had gotten what they wanted from him. Seemed like they were laughing inside over this matter. They had a smirk about them, and seemed that they had done this before to some poor schmuck like Shinshin. The two conniving horrors eyeballed him as he walked toward me and grabbed his orange backpack, which was full of evidence to use against him for his misfortunate hearing. But he didn't bother bringing it up to the podium. He was tired of all this bullshit of waiting and wanted it to be done and over with. So that's what he did. He simply agreed to some stupid, wrongful charges and accusation and accepted the 3 years stay away, no contact order that was handed down to him by the court magistrate that eerie morning. You see that? Shinshin just accepted his punishment. He was just simply tired of all of it. He wanted it all to end. I'm sure he was quite distraught and crushed after finding out that bitch and her mother had done to him, and how she used him the whole time. And to make it worse, he had found out that I had been doing this so-called. And to make it worse, when he found out that I had been doing what I had been doing with this so-called lover all this time, Shinshin was quite crushed from my revelation the night after, when I told him everything between me and his bitch of a lover. I know it's not easy on him, and yet he looked the other way and simply turned the other cheek. Why was he so nonchalant about this? This is what I still often ask myself about Shinshin. I wouldn't blame him if he got up one night and slit my throat from ear to ear, but he hadn't done anything like that, and I don't think he'll do anything like that. How can I fix this sinful discretion and emptiness between Shinshin and I? I so wish that I was able to turn back the hands of time and make all that horrible shit that I had been doing behind Shinshin's back go away. I wish I hadn't ever met that bitch of a whore Delilah at the local university, and I promised that I would gladly take his place if given the opportunity to do so. I wish that Shinshin is in a better place now. I know that he is. I'll just go on living in my own filth and absolute guilt. I realize how Now, I realize now that all I can do is go on and accept all that has happened. Accepting is what I have to endure. I have to accept that Shinshin is dead and accept that I was part of his death. In accepting Shinshin's passing, I hope that I too will be able to forward myself. I hope that I will be able to move forward. All I can do now is accept and hope for a better outlook. It's acceptance that I have come to live with from now on. Thank you for listening. This is the end of chapter 151. Be on the lookout for chapter 152, titled A Christian Bastard and Dara's Realization. This is Do, Ra, me, and I'll see you later. Thank you.